certainly this is a pretty rare infill property for you to develop as well, right? I mean, there's an old lumber mill site that was there, but otherwise not a lot.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, we've done some cool stuff. Did a lot of stuff along the Riverwalk in Tucson, bigger projects than this, mixed use. So we've done a lot of this kind of stuff. But yes, this is a very cool site. This one, because of the walkability. You know, the other ones we've done like this along the Riverwalk in Tucson, it's walkable, but not like this. I mean, this literally, as you said, you can get medical care. Like if I hurt myself mountain biking, I can walk over there and get stitched up. So where the hell's that happen?
Do you have any maybe public maps or site layouts available for people to review at all?
I think not at
this. That'll be all part of that public process. That will be.
Yeah, there's so much work we got to do. You know, this is. I hope you all appreciate how much time this takes city staff and us. It's a lot of work.
All right, so that was Chris Kimmerly. He is with the developer Miramonte, and they're the ones developing the Southgate Triangle. So for those of you who don't know what's going on in terms of that, let's go over to my notes real quick. That was a press conference that was hosted this week on Wednesday, August 27th, about the Southgate Triangle and the prospects of new development in that particular area. That was Chris Kimmerly with the developer working with the city. Owned property up near Bob Ward's, the AKA Southgate Triangle next to the train tracks. This area is part of a larger overall Midtown Master Plan, which aims to create larger infill projects, improve congestion on Brooks, and also include bus line routes to improve transportation, but that's nothing to do with the Southgate Triangle, even though Southgate Mall as a whole is one of the more robust malls in the state of Montana in terms of feet on the ground. Overall, this looks to be another private-public partnership which aims to leverage this development to create a robust park for everybody, not to mention the mall is just a major hub for Mountain Line. We also had a long stretch of no shows this month, so I want to welcome you guys to Wake Up Missoula. I'm your host, Scott Ramf. We took some time off as well. It is kind of the budget season with the city of Missoula. They increased the budget. Budget passed and taxes were raised in the Missoula on the heels of the new taxable values, putting most of your property taxes down by $250 when added to this math overall. So you save $250 with the state cut on property taxes and then the added property taxes through the city, which essentially makes you save $250 over. And also a big announcement, if you haven't already applied to the rebate, the Montana property tax rebate, that's $400 for anybody who owns a property in the Montana area, the primary residence for more than 7 months out of the year. You're entitled to $400 rebate. You can go to, let's see, where's the website real quick? It's mt.revenue.gov for more information on that. Let's see. Yep, it's of course, let's jump right into it. As per usual, the City of Missoula City Council meeting, which happened this past Monday, they had proclamations, one for Service Dog Month and International Overdose Awareness Month. You know, trust me, sometimes the proclamations tend to go from sweet to highlighting the horrors of reality. I remember when they had Sexual Assault Awareness Week with Superhero Day that featured kid volunteers who just happened to be in attendance that night. So there's been instances where like some of those proclamations kind of overlap. So today we're going to learn a little bit more about wastewater and how the health board works with the city in implementing state local policies. So Charlie Shane with the City County Health Department talks about the wastewater, and this is what he had to say just about some of the implementation and what they plan on doing in terms of converting septic tanks and septic systems in the first place.
In Montana, both the state and local government sets rules governing the permitting and installation of on-site wastewater treatment and disposal systems, more commonly referred to as septic systems. The purpose of these rules are to protect public health and environmental quality from the risks associated with improper disposal of wastewater treatment. Department of Environmental Quality Circular 4 outlines the minimum design standards for the size, design, and construction of septic systems, and these rules are set by the state. Regulation 1, on the other hand, of the Missoula City County Health Code sets local wastewater regulations. Local regulation of wastewater treatment and disposal systems is required under state law and may be no less stringent than state standards. DEQ changed their rules recently to allow new on-site wastewater systems in fill in a response to a directive by the 2023 legislature.
All right, and so for you guys who don't, this new system is essentially called fill. And fill is a new way of how they're depositing sediments and materials and just basically just infilling dirt. And part of this has to do with the collection of wastewater, whether it be directly through sewer, maintenance, septic tanks. The further you get out of town, the more common some of those septic tanks are, and they tend to get overlooked, which could have consequences to the aquifer and local water resources. This usually happens because septic tanks only drain get drained every about are recommended 2 to 5 years, which you have that 3-year wiggle room for a lot of people, and you never know if a person sells their house. So Charlie Shane spoke about the new policy in terms of drainage fill. The key word is fill on this particular instance, and this is what he had to say about that.
So what is fill? Fill is an artificially placed soil used to level the ground surface and fill in depressions. What it would be used for in Missoula is repairing or modifying disturbed sites or damaged sites to create a suitable drain field location. There are very specific soil and fill requirements, so they are prohibited in tight soils like clay and silt. Only certain soil types can be used as fill material. These environmental protection criteria in place, and they cannot be used to overcome horizontal or vertical setbacks. So this would include horizontal setbacks to features like steep slopes and floodplains, as well as vertical setbacks to limiting layers like bedrock, high groundwater, and other impervious layers.
And much like our aquifer, it is fairly unprotected, and even in terms of our water leakage, it's basically a slope up to 35% or more. And so far, this policy change would affect the septic tank owners in Missoula as they plan to use this method to mitigate wastewater that meets those criteria. Mind you, Health Board is both city and county, so this essentially will encompass both city and county, but this is the city presentation. And Charlie answered the basic question of why is this necessary, beyond just, state law and state policy.
Well, really, it's allowing systems in locations that have been damaged by construction. So we've had some cases where people have dug out foundations thinking that is where the house was going to go, but it's the only available space for a drain field, and simply filling that in has not been allowed up until, unless this ordinance is passed. And recently DEQ, so the Department of Environmental Quality, came up with some criteria in order to allow that. And we've had a couple of situations in the past few years where this would work out well for developers and property owners to be able to develop their land.
All right, so this is a better opportunity for more of the rural areas, especially areas that don't meet the wastewater criteria to hook into the system as a whole. And within city limits, Charlie mentioned only a handful of septic tanks still exist within the city limits, but since the Health Board reflects the state rule, the county will also follow. Consent agenda was pretty straightforward until public comment reflected a common thread happening in the rapid growing Georgia Elmer and various locations up Mullen Road. Here's Kayla Tripp, who gave her 2 cents about the rapid growth and the impact to the school and the children.
And I would highly recommend to not authorize this. First and foremost, this is a Spokane company that will receive every profit from every housing sale and rent. Just seems kind of silly to let that go out into a different state. We might get property taxes for it, but that's not going to offset any of the costs for roads. The amount of students that are going, probably about 60 students per dwelling, will be going into the Hellgate Elementary School District, which is already at capacity, can barely, support all of the new complexes that have recently been built here. And not to mention the fact that we cannot, if you're trying to make affordable housing, this is not the housing people want to live in. To have 671 new houses built on 40 acres is ridiculous.
Yep. So that was her opinion on that particular instance, and that's one of the bigger things that a lot of people have spoken against in terms of this population boom that's happening in Ward 2. Ward 2 is definitely the fastest growing part of Missoula within the city limits. Much like people spoke about these same issues back in the early 2010s when Mill and Build project was just lifting off. Many residents were worried about the increase in students using the lone district of Hellgate Elementary, which is outside the Missoula County Public School System. They have contended with the sudden burst of population, especially having the burst of the pandemic bump, having kids usually go hand in hand with buying new homes, and most of them seem to be happening in Ward 2, aka the subject property. The city moved to approve that development along with 3 other items on the consent agenda. Downtown Business Improvement District was up for discussion in regards of a $475,462.21 in tax revenue to benefit parks and the downtown Missoula area with no tax burden to residents and zoning under the R residential district jurisdictions. Residential and commercial properties fill in some of those gaps. Special districts must have a 40% of residents of the district to petition for a special district, but need at least 60% to vote for the creation of said special districts, which the Business Improvement District was created for the sake of cleaning up the streets, making sure they're clean up the parks in the downtown Missoula area, upkeep. Karis Park is a big part of it, including that major phase division. Phillips Street, that crosses Scott Street before the bridge, essentially has installed a new roundabout to mitigate traffic around Lowell School for safety. On top of that, the city implemented a 20-mile-per-hour zone for the school to enhance safety further. Of course, you might have heard a lot of back and forth based on the news. You might have heard that they wanted to lower it as low as 50 miles per hour, and then they got into this whole back and forth with learning as they're kind of trying to amend this proclamation. Jeremy Keene, Public Works Director, talks about the safety of Scott Street, and this is his presentation on this roundabout and just the matter of lowering the speed limit.
And over the past few weeks, we refreshed the striping on Phillips Street. We added delineators and some temporary flashing beacons at Hawthorne. We secured grant money for some street art at that intersection, which would be really neat. And we also worked with Parks Department to schedule some tree trimming, and we are working with PD to coordinate increased enforcement. And finally, we prepared an engineering study to set the school speed zone, which is tonight's action item. So we're pretty busy. I want to thank Ryan Gelf for being here tonight. This is the same staff that's working on code reform, another high priority for council, managing multiple federal grants with tight timelines, developing over 20 other CIP projects that are in the queue, and responding to numerous other traffic safety concerns each week.
All right, so the main staple of area they're going to be concentrating on is the main street that goes across the front area where a lot of the kids are dropped off and picked up through their parents. There's, all construction since July 7th has brought new street lights, pedestrian crossing buttons for those areas. It's those little buttons that have those solar panels on top, just kind of keep it powered. You just hit the button and you have the ability to crosswalk even though there are no street lights there. They hope to mitigate these traffic issues as population on the north side also increases. Ryan Gilf, with the transportation engineer through this project, spoke about some of these changes and the area as well.
So the first recommendation that was implemented this summer is what we call Hawthorne daylighting. We went in and delineated what we call bulb outs, which is the paint and delineators that kind of restrict parking in the no parking areas. These are shown and are effective in improving crosswalk visibility, reducing effective crossing distance. They have some traffic calming effects. And they also, first and foremost, are going to prevent some of the parking and loading and unloading in designated no parking zones that can compromise intersection and crosswalk safety.
So up Phillips Street, they also have the unique ability to use some of those concrete islands to basically mitigate cars from parking near the areas which people would be using that to cross the street. So part of this is to improve visibility and to increase success on that regard. Not to mention, if you've seen those panels before, they use them as an easy mitigation for traffic, especially on those roundabouts that have been popping up in the Franklin to the Fort neighborhoods. All right, moving on, as we get further into the details, unlike Reserve Street, this was a bit easier to achieve in the short term amount of time, since there's a little bit more of the normal throughway traffic through Phillips. Ryan also reflects on some of the challenges compared to other streets that need something like this to help improve safety. So here's Ryan.
Great uniformity across all of our streets citywide. We have been working on a school zone policy and do plan that will add some consistency and set some guidelines or at least some standards for how we sign and what we sign on school zones throughout the city. We have that policy in draft form and have been within, the time we have to work on that amongst the many other priorities Jeremy's mentioned. A plan to bring that forward relatively soon. Yeah, that's kind of where that's at. I do know we've been knocking out some of the low-hanging fruit as our resources and kind of staff time allows, including replacing what we call the bouncing ball beacons with the pedestrian actuated RRFBs throughout school zones around Missoula, bringing some of the signage reflectivity standards up to snuff around town. But yeah, in terms of that comprehensive kind of consistent policy, that's still in the works currently.
Yep. And it's also nice because this particular area doesn't have quite the high traffic that you'd get on schools that are next to Russell, not to mention Hillview Way, which is also another one of those major tricky streets to get onto because it's on a slope. So we also had Police Chief Mike Collier talking about some of the enforcement that they plan on doing in this particular area, and this is what he had to say.
When I was thinking through this, really what I wish we could do is just post it 24/7, right? I think that's the most consistent thing for the traveling public to get used to and just create good habits there. And it certainly would be the most convenient thing for us from enforcement and prosecution, but we can't do that. This is controlled at a higher authority, and we have to do what you heard earlier, which is to regulate a specific time or when children are present. And this is going to be a shade of gray here. What does present mean? Does it need to be within the actual block that the moving violation is in, or is it within line of sight? What is a child? Is it going to be, it's pretty obvious when it's a little second grader, but 15, 16, 17, 18, at what point are we going to make that call? So it is going to be a little bit of a, we're going to have to ramp up some education on that, maybe check with other jurisdictions where there's some precedent set, to meet the elements of when children are present. And we'll kind of coordinate that with the city attorney about what they think is a good standard to meet those elements, and then we'll kind of follow suit from that.
And one of the challenges that he also brought up, the fact that this is a very popular park for kids in general, and part of that has a lot to do with the some of the council asked to reduce the speed to 50 miles per hour, but many regulations from the state and federal law only allow for slow speeds in areas that are too narrow or visibly stunted. Much like that, the Phillips Street state law for speed allows for 20 miles per hour, even though most school zone and residential areas are 25 miles per hour. I'm not getting into those details, as this was something that the city was looking for permission for, but ended up doing research in real time as the subject went on a little bit further. Nicole Gray, little school parent of one of the kids who was actually hit by a vehicle off Shakespeare, reacts to some of the comments by the police and the city.
There's simple things we can do to increase safety, and that's put permanent flashing lights at the Shakespeare crossing where we already know the children cross most. Reducing the speed limit to 15 miles per hour. And then the proper signage along Phillips Street. There's not even school signage up from when you're coming from the Russell Way. I really cannot understand the resistance of the Department of Public Works to these measures, especially the flashing lights being permanent and the 15 miles per hour speed zone. I've heard them say tonight that enforcement is the biggest part of this. And then I heard the chief of police say that 15 miles when children are present is hard to enforce. So I feel like it's not an answer. It's not an answer. And, you know, this is not about an over emotional mother of a child who was hit or overreacting community. This is our children. These are their lives.
All right. And that was Nicole Gray talking about that. Her daughter was lucky enough to walk away and called out the city and Public Works for not keeping their children safe and not learning from these mistakes. However, the city, using data-driven information, provided to put the speed limit at the 20 mile per hour after much discussion. After the meeting, Mayor Andrea Davis gave props to the fire department and their efforts last week with the brush fire near Brett's RV. She also mentioned that the 2.5 miles of new trails and 300 acres of public access land, the new trail system, is located in North Hills, previously inaccessible but now available through the Bluebird Preserve. Before we wrap up, Johnson Street Shelter will officially be closed by September 2nd, next Tuesday. Not to date up a story from 3 weeks ago, we saw a reduced shelter able to host 30 guests with 62 people looking for beds that night. Which started January as a housing sprint resulted in 33 rehoused individuals with 7 on the way. The city with the United Way of Missoula raised over $200,000 and spent about $113,000 to help house many of these folks. They claim 45 individuals were housed through these efforts from the They claim that 45 individuals were housed through these efforts from the 120 folks that used the Johnson Street Shelter, with the number being 160 at the peak of that over the last year or so. More than a third were housed since the start of winter. It's never perfect. They have a lot of barriers they have to go through, not to mention making sure that people are found and have the right communication. And, time is a little bit hard to keep a schedule, especially if you're homeless. As we get into the dry week of council meetings next week, we don't have any city council meetings because it's Labor Day Monday, and I'm not sure if they're doing any committee meetings next Wednesday. But regardless, Climate Conservation and Parks talked about various things happening in the former dam site up the Rattlesnake, looking to get phase 2. Phase 1 was essentially the restoration and removal of the Rattlesnake Dam. This was actually paid for in part by Ducks Unlimited and many of the organizations that help pay for the restoration of the site, because it's going to be a major public hub for many people to walk through, not to mention connect trails that go from there through Ten Spoon Winery, which the city acquired through not eminent domain, but through an easement through the organizers at Ten Spoon Winery. So there's a lot of robust things happening on the Rattlesnake area. Heck, even with the Bluebird Preserve, that's generally in that area where there's just a lot more public land access for a lot of people via trails. So this construction is part of a larger Rattlesnake Dam Phase 2 project that focuses on improving recreation access and interpretation of the area surrounding the former Rattlesnake Dam. Without further ado, Lucy Remler from Parks and Rec spoke about this project, and this is what she had to say.
Is part of the larger Rattlesnake Dam project that focuses on improving recreation access and interpretation in the vicinity of the former Rattlesnake Creek Dam site. That larger plan included, in addition to this trailhead, a 1-mile loop trail with gentle grades to connect users to the dam restoration site and a swimming spot, and 2 additional interpretive sign kiosks. This improved trailhead is critical to address inadequate parking capacity at the site, proportionate to how many people love to use it, improve safety in the existing city right-of-way, and provide a more welcoming launch point for this trail system.
Much like many other projects on the horizon, open space is a big one here in Missoula, trying to utilize whether it's going to be a natural park or just creating a space for people to go so they can enjoy the area as well. Bancroft Park is a good example of kind of a mixed use between park and natural park, open space area for people to utilize. Even Greeno Park is a great example with some maintenance and also some natural areas in which they don't need to really worry as much compared to just making sure that the trails are kept up for people to get access and just access to all the areas that are provided. let's see, as we move on, Williams Civil Construction LLC in the amount of $119,000 to provide services to construct the Duncan Trailhead parking area. The background is simple. It was previously owned by a property under mountain water and was able to be acquired by the city, which these projects went into effect. So Missoula Water Company, through public eminent domain, able to get Mountain Water Company, and this property was subject to that eminent domain acquisition, payment, all that kind of stuff. And most of the dam was removed was money through Ducks Unlimited. Various partners have invested. I already spoke about this, but Lincoln Lake, Parks and Rec talk about the Lincoln Lake from Parks and Rec, talks about the trails and improving the trip hazard mitigation in the Fort Missoula Regional Park area. And so we're moving on to our next topic, and it has a lot to do with some of the things that are happening in Fort Missoula. So this is Lincoln Lake.
It's actually creates an ADA compliant surface compared to grinding concrete. They have lots of efficiencies going on with quick work without extended enclosures of any type of trails or our walkways. They have really good mapping and reporting, which I'm going to show you a little bit about here in just a few. And great to work with, and really honest reporting, which I really appreciate. They're also a member of the Green Building Council that aims to bring green building and sustainable to construction projects, which is awesome.
All right, so this is a new technology. The people through the parks are looking to mitigate basically sidewalk improvements and improving it. Sometimes sidewalks crack, and they need to figure out what they're going to do about it. And so part of this is a lot of times to save money, they grind it down, but it's never a perfect process. But now through better technology, they're able to use this system in place that they have, and much how Missoula does deconstruction, recycle large permanent buildings, climate conservation, parks, create policy the city implements on their way to sustainability, and frankly having an ability to convert existing sidewalks instead of replacing them just kind of makes sense. Chip and Seal Project is yet another one of those programs where you can report a pothole and Public Works jumps on that. Lincoln also talks about trip hazards at the Fort Missoula Regional Park area, and this is what he had to say.
Here's just a couple of examples. I really like how they break apart their report, honest reporting here, saying how big the hazard is, and there's many of these points on this report that I had to personally go and assess myself afterward, because they say, like these ones right here, they say, you know, there's nothing we can do with these ones. We recommend replacement. So regardless of trip hazard or not, they will notify you if there is a hazard or if you should just go and replace it now or in the future. Like this one in the middle has no current trip hazards, but they definitely recommend for replacement just because it's cracked and can easily heave in the future.
Yep, and so part of this has to do with, you know, the wear and tear of most sidewalks, and heck, they even had like a little a joke with the new technology being implemented in towns in Missoula. They were able to jump on this to help mitigate replacement overall. Perhaps it will open Public Works to get tools to invest in these methods to cut instead of grinding these sidewalks in the future. And the contract is for $107,000 towards the Precision Concrete Cutting. That's the organization that will be doing this. There'll be that only has been around since 2021. This comes from the Parks and Rec budget maintenance for those broken sidewalks in Missoula. Most cracks come from earth and natural from freeze-thaw cycles. According to Lincoln Lake, there's concrete that is cracked and concrete that will be cracked. And up next, we have a fun video for y'all from our friends from past summer camps colliding with this year's summer camp kids in Dude I Just Drew Junior Edition. And without further ado, here is Rowan.
Hey everybody, welcome to Dude I Just Drew Junior for the year. I'm excited. Anyway, although you guys might not know how things are done, I'll tell you. I'll tell you all about it. Have you sit down and draw a picture for about 5 minutes, and then after that 5 minutes is up, you get to choose someone from the audience here. Should I start? I don't know if I should start. Should I start?
Suggest anything.
Oh, suggest something. Thomas Jefferson eating. What is Thomas Jefferson?
Hamilton.
Hamilton eating. My shirt. A cat? Hold on.
Washington eating a banana.
George Washington eating a banana?
Yes.
Okay.
Did he have ponytails? It's very accurate.
He had a little pony. He has a little ponytail. He has a little. He has a little wig. The poof. The little poof. I gotta draw the banana. Hold on. I'm throwing a shell. Spikes. Hold on.
Like Bowser.
And here comes the car coming to hit him.
Building in the background.
And then the exploding. And then the exploding building in the background.
A cat eating a sword. Cat eating a sword. Yeah.
All right, I hear cat eating a sword a lot. We're doing cat sword eating. Don't forget the whiskers of the cat. Yeah. No, why would a cat do any of that? Arg. Arg. Oh, look at that. Go.
Pencil.
Go.
The rocks. Oliver. Dinosaur eating a pencil. The sun dying.
The sun dying. Among Us.
With life. I couldn't finish the life.
With life.
Those are not the Lays that I know.
What do we got?
Yeah, they're
You got
called
that?
Doritos. It's a Dorito. Clearly, it's a Dorito.
It couldn't be anything else. I don't think any other chip is shaped like that.
Oh, wow.
Well done. All right.
Suggestions, people. Okay. What is
Then-
People are crazy ideas.
It's doing a little it's doing a little this while he's chewing on coin. What? You can't show that on TV.
FBI.
You can't show any of that. We're talking about presidents, okay? We're talking about presidents and their friends and stuff like that. Junior Jr. Jr. is topical. Topical. Topical.
On the toilet. No.
No more toilet. No more toilet.
Edison.
Oh, go.
Make ice cream Everybody take ice cream Miranda.
What is this?
Fork.
What? A computer shirt. They're smart people. It's high intellect.
And the girlfriend.
Everyone, settle down. Pancakes, pancake cigar, shower girlfriends.
What that is.
What do we got? What are we drawing? Dolphin? Mustache eating a mustache. Toilet eating a toilet. We have a lot of eating. And the palace.
It's in the way. Okay.
What? He's got the Mad Cat King. He's a king. He's a tyrant. He's a tyrant you can trust.
Bunnies like carrots. Or a bunny. Like a bunny if you're gonna make an ice cream.
No.
Random person eating a mustache.
Random person.
No. Draw a person with a mustache eating pizza.
Okay.
I'm operating
Make a
on.
big bomb going.
I'm still going. We'll keep it going. Keep going. A mustached corgi. He has a mustache ice cream. Ice cream mustache. What's the corgi's name?
Make him a temple. Pippin.
What's
His name is Pippin.
Pippin?
Pippin.
Pippin.
Favorite word corgi, so.
Pippin.
Like Lord of the Rings.
And yes.
Eating people.
We got it.
I don't know how to do that, but okay.
Be scared.
Yes.
Be worried.
This is his body.
That's his body.
It's supposed to be strong.
I get it now. Something unrelated to all the other stuff. Okay, he can't be naked. He has to have pants on. How good is this burger? I almost fell over from that. That was scary. Olive burger. There's the burger. I see it. Is it exclusive?
Right there.
What's the? Excuse me. That's how we get in. And
And then we have to add a frame. It's on that computer. Every good picture needs to have a frame, and this is beautiful.
oh, this is like a photo. Thank you everybody for joining us for another Dude I Just Drew Jr. It was a lot of fun. a lot of laughs. And make sure to follow us on YouTube, Facebook. You can find my stuff at nowhere.arts, Instagram, Twitter. You can find me on comic places like Manga Plus, Webtoon, and all that other places. Check out my stuff if you like. And yeah, that's it. Have a pleasant morning, night, or afternoon, whichever one comes first. See ya.
Hey guys, welcome back. Let's kick things off with some pre-critic, where I prejudge a movie based on my biases towards movies in general. So kicking things off, we got Caught Stealing, Caught Stealing, which is one of those kind of like trying to get away, heist-esque kind of movie coming out this weekend. Welcome to the world of Austin Butler, and we're just living in it as the movie is trending towards guys on the run. And Leonardo DiCaprio is running away, Glenn Powell is running away, and literally the remake of The Running Man. This one essentially is a bartender making friends with a punk rocker who set him up with not one, but 4 different organized crimes trying to get some money. Enjoy this journey through many cultures as they punch him in the face, and he has to learn how to fight back using his skills as a bartender to kick out the bad drunks once and for all. Most likely there's going to be a final scene where the money is destroyed and a lot of people die because of the main guy and his girlfriend, who just happens to exist and is part of the plot. This is why you should never cat sit a British punk rocker for a British punk rocker who probably doesn't have a band. All right, then we got The Roses. Much like War of the Roses, this long drawn-out battle between an old married couple gets drawn out in a slapstick fashion only British people know how to. Essentially, you have these 2 main characters who love each other on paper, but behind the scenes, things are a little bit more slapstick. Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman pretend to be each other's married couple as strong as ever, yet more movies like this attempt to repress their resentment for their own reputations and financial opportunities that require the British stiff upper lip. If anything, something worse happens at some point, forcing these 2 to work together to get along better as a divorced couple than they were ever as a married one. So kind of like when 2 superheroes meet, they fight and then fight with each other over which chips are down. So yeah, essentially this is kind of like one of those movies. Then we got The Toxic Avenger. We have yet again a movie that basically supposed to have a 2023 release date, get another push for relevance as they recreate a cult classic of the same name. Then we got Run, which is basically just an alien invasion movie, but a cabin in the woods. While the world is falling apart, the cabin in the woods movie manifests this creature feature shot mostly in a cabin in the woods. Did I mention it was in a cabin in the woods? Then we got American Sweatshop. Essentially, enjoy a movie about a lady on a phone solving all your problems. You might as well call Amazon or meatpacking facilities. Essentially, this is a call center internet monitoring job, and it's much darker than you think it is. She was in the sweatshop, the movie, the whole time. So that's the kind of the brain explosion. So, yep, those are the movies that are coming out this weekend. Not really much. Up next, we have dub and stuff from the 1947 movie, The Red House. And, you know, this is where I redub and remaster some of these old movies from way back when. And without further ado, here's this. And when I come back, we're going to talk about some news and events that are happening in Missoula. Cobb salad. Well, my daughter says you're top of the class and some kind of math genius. Well, the bar is set pretty low for the rural school that we go to. No offense. Rural, you say? Oh, you know, people of the land. You know, farmers and people who pick themselves up by the bootstraps. You kind of people.
Well, we do wear plaid ironically on occasion. My daughter wears plaid, but she kept on getting hit on by the other girls.
Don't mind her. She doesn't know what she's talking about half the time. Oh, that's not weird or anything. But yeah, your daughter seems really nice, and, you know, she invited me over for dinner, and I'm like, sure.
You said you'd marry me.
I didn't really say that, but whatever. What do you mean by that? Well, if I'm being perfectly honest, I'm only here because of a bet. Somebody told me I bet that they couldn't go to the rural girl's house. Well, rural is a hard word to say, and we're even harder people to get along with. Say, do you know anything about farming?
Oh, pay no mind to him. I saw no calluses on his hands. He probably's never lifted a hoe in his life. Here comes the bride. Hi. So, what's this? Am I something to you? Sure. This, bullet tastes pretty good in this meat. How many times did you, shoot it? I'm not complaining or anything. It just tastes kind of funny. But, like, good kind of funny. Well, this is awkward. I probably should be leaving. Take care. This was beautiful dinner. Thanks for the, Now, hold on there, mister. Before you take that S sweater and leave, I got a couple things I gotta say to you. Well, more of a bribe. Here, let me check. Hey, listen. No, that's not necessary. This is all a misunderstanding. Perhaps, you know... So what, you're not gonna take my daughter away from me? No, of course not. Why would I do that? There comes a time in every man's life where he needs his daughter to be taken away. Perhaps maybe, I have a farm. I have a lot of land. People want land. Well, it's not quite like that. I'm just not interested in your daughter. I'm sorry. You take my daughter. I want my daughter out of here. Dude, I'm only in high school. Relax. Don't you dare walk away from this family. Honey, please. You're part of it whether you like it or not. You hear me? I need more strong, capable men of taking care of the farm. It's windy out there. You shouldn't be out there doing windy stuff. It's really windy. Just come inside. It's fine. No, I don't think I will. I have no interest in... Why don't you get on out of here? That's what I've been trying to do. Excuse me. No, please. I need a son-in-law. I need someone to take over the farm, take care of my daughter, and listen, maybe my wife. I knew your family was weird, but I didn't know you were this weird. You'll get old one day. There'll become a time where you have to decide whether or not to give your daughter away to a complete stranger. Do you hear me? A complete stranger. A stranger will date your daughter. It's weird, but I'm just trying to speed along the process. You know what? I hate you. I love you. Come back.
All right, if there's anything to glean away from that is that sometimes if you're a dinner guest, it's better not to be too likable. All right, moving on. Let's talk about some news things that are happening in and around the world and some things we've kind of missed over here and there. You know, the whole federalization of the National Guard for Washington, D.C. LA was kind of a big thing. That was kind of the first step into many steps moving forward with talks going to Chicago. Trump ordered much of Trump's policies reflect the nature of complaining about large numbers of crime in larger cities, resulting in the federalization of a National Guard taken up from other states' guard and placing them in the U.S. Capitol. Among the many things the Trump administration is doing, from gerrymandering in Texas to suing California for gerrymandering, doing the exact opposite among redistricting to benefit party lines. Among other states, Utah has also had to redraw their maps based on a third-party nonpartisan map by 2026 midterms. This is by committee, not by party lines, but still has wiggle room to use strategic incompetence to push those dates to 2028. Strategic incompetence. This might as well be this administration. But redistricting based on population growth and the census results in many states who sway one way to reconsolidate powers and the parties in control to retain control based on party politics. Much like, Montana redistrict many of our population centers, western Montana to eastern Montana, as the representatives for the state of Montana. So one could probably easily say that Montana is very separated kind of like from the north and south, with more of the cities kind of in the southern mid-regions of Montana. And a lot of times bigger populations tend to have working tax systems, which a lot of people are more progressive in utilizing a lot of those tax dollars based on population, since they have more than enough money to go around, unlike smaller communities that have to stretch out their money to do very little things. Very much how Helena's school in the state of Montana is looking to get $233 million bond through their community to essentially keep their schools open for their kids. So there's a lot of interesting things going on here, and these kinds of changes, the way we vote and represents us, and frankly becomes contested no matter who is in charge. But motivation to meddle in the 2026 midterms is strong, as most sitting presidents lose seats in the House and Senate during those periods. The economy is interesting, as Trump also fired the Fed chief, also the head of the CDC, with 3 other head deputies leaving the CDC just this week. Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook was fired based on a mortgage fraud of her independent private life. However, the president doesn't have authority to fire her directly. He still is working towards finding reasonable doubt to be able to fire based on personal finance of Lisa Cook in this matter. This is part of the U.S. banking system through the federal government that sets inflation and values of the U.S. dollar, which also sets the rate for your mortgages, which is at 7%. We haven't had a low rate since the peak of the pandemic, which was as low as 2.25% interest rate. One thing, Democratic control of the Fed, much like government, tends to have many gray areas, which is not good when monitoring trade. However, the libertarian mindset would essentially create an open and freer market. In the end, system meddling and moving into the next thing isn't worth building confidence among the people who have to deal with the 9% interest rates, making it harder to buy homes on top of the median home price. Here in Missoula, we have the median home price set at $575,000. Mind you, those numbers were about $200,000 median in 2021 numbers. Most of weird things from last couple years was the normalization language of housing prices went up less this year than past years. The fact that they went up as much as they have is ridiculous, with my home jumping in value from 2023 to 2025 by way more than 15%. Mind you, the cost of living is assessed at 2.89 increase for last year. That is the lower raises per year of the 3% on average. So the idea is that inflation, cost of living, all that kind of stuff increases roughly by 3%. We've had lower raise in cost of living the last 3-4 years post-pandemic. And if we're speaking about housing, one of the things, like, I got to say that the rebate is up for grabs up until the end of October for the state of Montana. So if you're a property owner in your primary residence for 51% of the time, otherwise known 7 months living in your primary residence, you're able to entitle for that $400. Property taxes and primary residence in the state of Montana will see decreases, and going off my home, property tax assessment was essentially cut in half for my place. However, much of the additional revenue and tax burden was shifted to commercial properties and secondary homes. Montana Free Press had a great article breaking it down from under the 1.35% taxable value rate in effect of 2020. $225,000 house has a taxable value of slightly more than $3,000. That's 4.5% of the example town that they base this on. The median residential property value as assessed by the State Revenue Department increased 35% during the 2023 reappraisal cycle, following a 22% increase in the reappraisal value, combined making a 66% increase of the median home value in 4 years in this seismic jump. By doing so, those seismic jumps in values disproportionately reevaluated the tax system. You've had those rebates. We've had more than enough surplus in the state of Montana for more than anything, and since then producing the combined tax bill that's $605 higher, even though the statewide mileage rate is unchanged and the town budget hasn't grown by a single penny. So those numbers are very interesting, and I definitely highly recommend you crunch the numbers and look at this particular article through the Montana Free Press. The policy change is more than hypothetical. Data from the State Revenue Department estimates that the median home value growth across Montana's 56 counties range from 19% to 130% over the past 2 years reappraisal cycle. So there's a lot of finagling going on here. You go to mt.gov to look at the resources to reevaluate your home if you feel like your house's value is way lower, which in a lot of cases, I don't honestly believe my townhouse. Like, I don't live in a house with a large property. I live in a townhouse with a very small property. And the fact that the value of my house is what it is kind of feels ridiculous. So this is one of those things that I also personally should look into as well. It is also, as things change and things grow and everything like that, is also an end of an era for a major tourist trap, the High Country Trading Post. This is kind of like the midpoint between Missoula and Great Falls by way of Lincoln, Montana. High Country Trading Post laid off 16 of their workers. Their business is built the jerky business. High Country continues to operate their jerky business. Of course, in my opinion, when you got rid of the fudge, you get fudged. According to Montana Free Press, they got a larger investment back in 2019, which it was able to receive the same year the business received a developmental grant from the Montana Department of Commerce of $400,000 to help develop this in 2019, mind you. So that was a very interesting thing as we just got into the pandemic after that year. Here in Missoula, the Clark Fork River Market will continue year-round. After years, the winter market and the mall kind of became the unofficial testing grounds for the farmers market to see if they can continue in the downtown area. So Badlander, locals only, that whole hub at the Palace Apartments in the main floor on the first floor just off the street will be your hub for all your farmers market stuff throughout the winter as they test the waters on this year-long thing to see if things will be happening. This will still be downtown as they transition to those places. Locals only and the Badlander Bar will be hosting this indoor event to bolster trade, local made objects, items, produce, whatever. So there's just going to be a lot of things happening, and maybe at some point there'll be a bigger indoor venue to host multiple people. I'm pretty sure the mall will continue with the winter market, which feels a little bit more about the OG farmers market on the northern part of Higgins Avenue, as they kind of, a lot of the same people that you saw there tend to utilize the winter market. With some people in the Clark Fork market, there's a lot of crossover, and a lot of times the winter market tends to be a little bit more skewed towards a people's market mindset with jewelry, handmade crafts and goods, and just gimmicky stuff that say Montana on it. Just saying, it's tourist crap. It is what it is. All right, so there's the news items. I also have some events that are happening in and around the city of Missoula. So if you're interested in doing that stuff, ongoing events happens daily, Monday through Friday, Stroller Strides. This is a Mommy and Me workout class at Bonner Park Sign at 9:30 a.m. most days. Empower Place, open play hours at Missoula Food Bank. This is a kind of a convention center, indoor space, market, library, science museum. There's a bunch of places and a bunch of things you guys can enjoy there at Empower Place. Tiny Tales at the Park, that's going to be wrapping up towards the end of this month, as this summer the Missoula Public Library and Parks and Rec teamed up to do Tiny Tales at the Park, and this is at Lowell School and the under the tree of the Sherwood side of the park for songs, rhymes, and movements for kids aged 0 to 3. Here at the Public Library, they have watercolor and yarns every Friday at noon. Mount Funk Sour Beer Week is happening in DraftWorks. This is going on all weekend long and beyond. This is at DraftWorks. They're tapping into 5 funky sours, just huckleberry, a new wine, just different things here and there. All Abilities Art Club through BASE. The BASE is for folks Americans with disabilities, looking to utilize some of the resources there and also have some fun art classes along the way. Summer Lego Club, 4 p.m. on Friday, this afternoon. It's going to be probably starting back at 2 o'clock, starting sometime in September next week. So just look out for that. This might be the last Summer Lego Club they'll do. Final Friday, this is a thing that they're going to be joining Two Voices, a powerful exhibit by brothers Cameron and Quentin Decker, will be wrapping up their closing remarks with a exhibit. They're having artist talk at 5:30 p.m. tonight at the Confluence Center. American Graffiti, this is a throwback to George Lucas' early movie before Star Wars, is playing at the Roxy tonight along with the Jaws 50th anniversary this weekend. Missoula 3rd Annual Hacky Sack Competition. This is Love Boat Paddle Company, 738 First Street West. Love Boat Paddle Company is from good old-fashioned hacky sacking. Competing, submit your team on the website. And you can go to MissoulaEvents.net for that website and more. Henry V by M. Sipp, Shakespeare in the Park at the University of Montana Oval starting at 6 p.m. tonight. You guys can enjoy some Shakespeare in the Park on the Oval, kind of like the main centerpiece of the University of Montana. Take some pictures. Make sure the M is in the background. D&D for adults. This is an online thing the Missoula Public Library hosted through them every Friday at 6 p.m. You can look up their link at MissoulaPublicLibrary.org. The Beach Boys at Kettle Amphitheater tonight at 6:30 p.m. Karaoke at the Jack Saloon at 7 p.m. Jazz Off the Rails, Leaf and Quiet on 235 North 1st Street West. This is Leaf and Quiet. I've never heard of them before, so I put down the location for you guys. You can also look them up on Missoula events with all this stuff as well. Cocaine Yogi, My Reluctant Spiritual Journey. Zootown Arts Community Center is hosting comedian Andy Main as they guide you through the journey of coke-dealing punk rocker to an alcoholic stand-up comic. Open Jam Night, hosted by David Becky, is going to be at Monk's at 7 p.m. Gravy Ladies, Cranky Sam playing some bluegrass music there. Benevolence will be at Old Post at 8 p.m. Like I said, the Jaws is doing the 50th anniversary screen at 8 p.m. at the Roxy. Outdoor Cinema is doing Encanto to wrap up their outdoor cinemas at Head Start School starting at 8:30 p.m. As sundown is roughly around 8:15 to 8:22 tonight. Owen Ross Band is going to wrap up your Friday night at Union Club playing some music as well. And the markets and such, like I said in the news, the farmers market will be going into the more indoor stuff. But for the most part, the regular OG market usually goes until late October. So it'll still be outside underneath the Higgins Bridge. Right in front of Thomas Mar Bar, also by the Red X's on the northern part of Higgins Avenue. Storytime at Missoula Public Library every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. This is a great opportunity for kids to learn reading and get a good book along the way. Butterfly release at 11 a.m. This is the Missoula Butterfly House, as a nonprofit that educates people on butterflies. Every time they released a butterfly, a week or two later, most of those butterflies would have died. So butterflies' lives are very short. So you get to only enjoy them for so long, so this is a great opportunity to enjoy them while you can. Museum tour at Missoula Art Museum every Saturday at 11 a.m. MCAT Saturday drop-in at 1 p.m. every Saturday for kids age 8 to 14. This is a great opportunity for kids to do stop animation and video making along the way. Inclusive firearm safety workshop with RAT. Saturday, August 30th at 2:30 p.m. is their monthly inclusive firearm safety workshop. They welcome everyone from absolute beginners to experienced firearm owners who just want a refresher to feel free. It's RSVP through Tally, so this is a totally secure firearm that you don't know how to use is worse than useless. It's dangerous. And so at 2:30 p.m., this is a RSVP. You can RSVP through the Missoula Public Library website along with the MissoulaEvents.net. Community Block Party, Rooster Cafe. They do this quite a bit at 5 p.m. on Saturday at 5 p.m. Live music at Draftworks featuring Liam Grams playing folk music. Lee Grams Johnson playing there. Witch Agony, Luck, and Grease Cult at Zootown Arts Community Center at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday. Monks is playing electronic music featuring Foundation Entertainment and MT Kush. Joe Martinez Band is at Jack Saloon playing some country music. Karaoke at the West Side Lanes at 9. Cal Bleep Kate is going to be at Union Club. Latin Night International Music and Dance at Eagles Lodge. DJ Chris Moon every Saturday at Badlander, wrapping up your Saturday night. And then they have College Application Workshop at the Missoula Public Library at 1 p.m. Applying to your dream college is easier than you think. College administration's experts Karen Fong Donahue will walk students and their parents through the process, discuss essays, learn important deadlines, and receive tips to improve your odds in applying to your school of choice. It's never too early to apply for college. James Maui at the Jack Saloon playing some country at 2 p.m. And then unlock your next great read at Missoula Public Library starting at 3 p.m. Featuring novelist, like a list of novels. Okay, and unsure whether you start your next literary adventure? Come learn about the Novel List, a ultimate tool to make book recommendations smarter, faster, and more personalized than ever. Starting at 3 p.m. is Missoula Public Library. Pinball tournament, Odd Pitch, starting at 4 p.m. on Sundays. Pixies at the Kettles Amphitheater at 5 p.m. Sunday Jazz, Draftworks, and Very Funny Weekend Comedy at the VFW at 8 p.m. Karaoke at 8:30 p.m. and then International Overdose Awareness Day Vigil at Missoula University of Montana Oval at 8:30 p.m. on Sunday. And we have some time for a little bit of music for you guys to help wrap up the show. For Wake Up Missoula, I'm Scott Ramp. Here is Bo Kimbo playing the Keep Missoula Funky event. And this is part of the many things here and there. So make sure to subscribe to No War Arts, MCAT TV Missoula, Missoula Music, and Dude I Just Drew. And of course, as always, Wake Up Missoula. So without further ado, here is Bo Kimbo.